Right. Much like a boy, what does it nowadays though?
Like we literally got to the end game. There was nothing else to do for us except for just get a little bit higher if we
Right,
wanted
like unless
to.
you're just those, I guess, like end games nowadays, it's weird. Like you get to the end game and you would think, oh, like now I can kind of relax and play more casual, but it's like nowadays, man, it's like the end game, you have to like treat it like a fucking part-time job, almost like it's like streamers are the only ones that can like fully enjoy end game for a game nowadays, you know?
Yeah. No, it's
Because outside of that, you are behind the curve and it's just I don't know, man. I don't know.
if you're trying to keep up with the Joneses on any game, you're not going to enjoy the game anymore.
No,
You just got to be able to play at your own pace.
Yeah, that's kind of why I like iRacing and things like that, because it's like you just get on, you can do a race. You don't even have to do a race. You can just get on and peacefully drive around a track to practice, you know? And it's like, hey, I didn't do a race today, but I practiced, and I felt like I still accomplished something. Like, I don't have to sit here and grind out. And because the thing with my other beef with Lost Ark, and I guess it's any MMO, but it just felt more punishing in Lost Ark because it said it right there, is I would do all the shit for the day, then be like, all right, I got enough things to try to do an upgrade, and then I would fail. And then I'd be like, so that day was completely wasted in the end, you know?
And it's like funny because they're all doing it different ways, but getting the same thing. Like even in WoW, you could run
It's the same thing.
5
You could run
mythics and not get any loot, and then it's
Right.
like, well, I didn't get shit. I didn't get an upgrade today, you know?
Right. And WoW,
But the way they did it, it just felt a little bit more brutal.
Right. In WoW, it was almost worse because it was like, oh, gotta wait for Tuesday, and then all of a sudden, oh, I didn't get anything for this week, you know? But like I said, yeah, it was just with Lost Ark, I guess it was just more in your face because they smacked you with that like failure right there, and you're like, no, this is not rewarding at all.
My issue with Lost Ark wasn't any of that, though. My issue with Lost Ark is it just never felt like an MMO to me.
Yeah, no, it definitely didn't have an MMO vibe. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
If I do like this, I'm telling you to move your mic away.
Okay.
You just get so excited, which I love. Don't get me wrong.
I'm just gonna move it right here, and that'll be.
Yeah, it's more so I think how you talk, like if you just
because of how animated I get.
Right. I know you're gonna get super excited for the Cloud9 stuff. So just All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Hey, my name is Launders, and you're listening to TCR.
Oh, wait. Let me do the intro. Scratch that. Hey, welcome to episode 381 of the Center Ring Esports podcast. And this is going to be the best episode ever because we actually have quite a bit of Yikes of the Weeks to get to. Esports did not take Yikes off this week, that's for sure. We will update you on the game that we are playing. VCT Masters, it's done. It's in the book. EU suck it. And the major is set. Not a major preview yet, but just a little bit of update. And oh yeah, Cloud9 is back, as well as plenty of e-news to get to as well to wrap up the show. Sponsored by your mom.
Hey, my name is Launders, and you're listening to TCR.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome back. Welcome to the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. This is episode 381, coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date is 4/25/22. The time is 9:12 p.m. Central Time, of course. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at The Centering and join the Discord. Do all that fun stuff. Come play games. Say hi. We have nice folks in there. If you're League of Legends, we have League of Legends people in there. I know we're not League of Legends people, but I always feel bad because the Discord will be like, hey, Tim, did you see what Cloud9 did this week? And I'm like, nope. And even if you told me, I have no idea what you're talking about. don't watch League of Legends. I know we're an esports podcast, but I'm not faking it anymore. It's 2022. I'm going to live my truth. I don't like League of Legends. My name is Tim. I will be your captain for this journey into esports. And alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend. It's Anuj. What's up?
What's up, brother? How are you?
I am wonderful. I am wonderful. It is Monday. Doesn't feel like a Monday. But
what does it feel like?
You know, so let me tell you this. So a couple weeks ago, maybe like a month ago now, a month and a half ago, you know this, I started going back into the office for my full-time work. However, it's
brutal.
It's you know, because I bitched about it with you every night for like 2 weeks leading up to it. It sucks.
I might die if they told me that.
I thought I was going to. It sucks. Coincidentally, I've been sick a lot of Wednesdays and Thursdays. So I've been a lot of sick. I have cough, and maybe I'll just stay home and work today. Okay, boss. So it sucks. But because it's Thursdays and Wednesdays, I'm really like thrown off.
You're like blessed about your other days, so like Mondays no longer feel bad anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's what
like
it is.
Wednesday is the new Monday,
and that's what I try telling people at work. Like Wednesdays feel like the new Monday because I go in on Wednesday, so that's now the worst day of the week. But Friday or Thursday feels like a Friday because it's your last day in the office. Even though I still have to work on Friday, mentally, I'm done. Like,
have you discussed this with your colleagues? Obviously not your bosses, but like with your colleagues, like, hey guys, like everybody has to be about 10 to 15% less productive once we're back in the office.
Oh,
so like on a Wednesday and Thursdays, call volume low,
so corporate
outbound
nipped that one in the
emails
bud.
low.
They nipped that in the bud real quick because they even said, hey, we know a lot of people talk about not being productive in the office. If that's the case, you're just going to go back to the office full time to be more productive. So corporate being corporate heard us complaining about the productivity being in the office, and they were like, oh, so what you're saying is you can't get used to just 2 days? You need to be in for 5 days so you can get used to it. It's like, okay, corporate.
Those sons of bitches.
I see you, and I hate you. So, yeah, I guess that's what it is. It's like today doesn't feel like Monday.
Be equally. Like, don't ever be more productive in the office.
That's
but
right.
Like,
just
even be like, look, I do the same work at home as I do here.
Yeah. Thankfully, like my direct management hates it just as much as we do. So we kind of all just
the only people that don't hate it are like the highest of the highs.
Right. The ones who are never in the office anyways.
Yeah.
They're in like a 4-hour lunch meeting in golf. That's what they do. And they're like, hey guys, get back into the office. It's also the people who don't know how to log into Zoom. That's the other people. But thankfully, we don't have to do this show. We haven't gone into a studio to do this show long. We were supporting, what's it called?
We supported pandemics well before pandemics were a thing.
Yeah, we started recording.
We were living the COVID-18 life back in the day. And so Tim and I, for those of you that don't know, this is the stupidest thing we could have been doing. It was Tim and I. Brett was with us at the time too when I first started. And so the three of us would drive out to Dallas. Mind you, none of us live.
Well, Brett did. Brett lived
in Richardson, but it was still a drive to get into Dallas, right? Like if you're from the DFW area, he still had a 20-minute drive to get in, where Tim and I had like a 45-minute
almost
drive.
Almost an hour.
Yeah, almost. Based on the times that we recorded, closer to an hour usually. So we were all going in to do an hour-and-a-half show in a studio, which at the time, mind you, felt really cool.
Right.
Like the first 10, 20 times. Then we had like Mike Rufail on as a guest, and he got to just walk upstairs.
Now,
and
this is because
Jeff Moore came up as a guest, and that was cool from NB, and we were building that relationship at the time. So it all kind of felt worth it. And then we just realized it wasn't.
Well, because at the time I worked at the radio station, so we had access to like professionals. You guys didn't have your mics.
Right,
I didn't.
$10,000 worth of equipment in front of us.
I mean, it was just easy. I had it all set up and it worked. But now, thanks to
no, I'm really
else.
happy with the shift to home, even for us, because I think that was also like pre-kid days when we did that.
Oh, I mean, we'd never work now.
Yeah, it never happened.
Shit, this barely works. We can barely do the show at home with kids, let alone drive an hour away to do it. So no, definitely.
But we did go from studio to then driving to Tim's house for a bit to do the show. And that was like the next compromise. And then now
which I still think ideally that's how I would want to do it, is us
if we had
person.
A studio set up at somebody's house.
I mean, even if it was just like a nice like chair, but we just don't.
Yeah.
It's life. It's life. So there you have it. That's just us shooting the breeze.
Hey, we looked at a house really close to your house. Well, I say really close, like within like 2-3 miles probably of your house the other day, and I was like, oh, this would be cool if this worked out. It'd be like right down the street from you, but
we could have LAN parties all the time.
Dude, just walk on over.
All right.
Neither of our asses are walking 2 miles to see each other.
No, that is for damn sure.
If I lived 4 houses down from you, I would drive to see it.
Just get a golf cart. And
yeah, I really would.
Go the other way.
I would get one of those Hot Wheels that the kids drive around,
right?
And that's what I would bust over to your house.
Are you? And we'll get into esports talk, so don't worry. But we haven't talked all day, so this is just Chatty Cathy's catching up. Do you have your light on right now? Why do you look more dark today? Am I more white?
I moved my light a little bit in the corner over here. I don't have a website up on my left monitor, so like if I do this,
that might be what it is. Yep, that's what it is.
Okay. But I have the Mavericks game on that monitor today.
I am looking blinding right now. Adam in chat saying that the game says Valorant. Adam, 2 things here. A, I don't know how to make you admin, so that's assuming a lot that we know how to operate Twitch. And secondly, I don't know if it necessarily matters if it says Valorant or a talk show or whatever, but right click my name and make admin. I don't know. Well, I will do.
Are you
it.
logged into Twitch? Or are you trying to do it?
No,
on
I'm not logged into Twitch. So we'll figure it out, Adam. Well, next time. All right. So let's get into some actual esports talk here, Anuj. Because we had quite a busy weekend, almost Champion Sunday-esque, with we had VCT Masters, the LCS finals going on for League in Houston, which, we actually had plans on going, and then it's just life caught up and we weren't able to make it. I say we had plans to going. We mentioned it when they announced it was Houston. We thought
it sounded like a good idea when they first said it.
Right. And then we remembered it was Houston, and that's never a good idea. So
no, we
decided not to go. And then you had the major for Counter-Strike finally get settled in. So we know all the teams and all the announcements were coming across. And that almost felt like it was almost like a champion in itself. Like now that we have that officially set. So it was like a mini championship Sunday this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, like the major qualification, because it was on EU side, really, like you said, it felt like a mini major that we were watching. Like I felt like I just watched the challenger stage and all the legends were just set, Yeah. And so the EU side kept it super exciting. I think for the most part, we'll talk about this more, but for the most part, I came out feeling like, okay, everybody that I wanted to see qualified. Like there's not too many. There's a couple that would have been good storylines, but I guess what I'm saying is like there's not any real threat that ended up not making it.
Are you saying Ty Lue wasn't a threat?
Yeah, no, I'm saying absolutely they were not a threat. The Mongolian team has just as much of a chance as Ty Lue did.
Right. Yeah, I would say that is fair. I don't think, obviously we would like to have seen some NA teams, like Evil Geniuses not being there is disappointing, but I think the fact that they weren't there proves it wasn't like there was some major upset that happened. Like EG and NA in general has been on shaky grounds for so long.
Had they made it out of that first contenders round or challengers round, that would have been a victory, you know?
Right.
So it's not like, again, we're missing anyone that we really thought had any sort of chance of winning this thing.
And maybe this is just me being a pessimistic. And again, we'll you know, I don't want to like fully break out down predictions or things like that for the major, because obviously we'll discuss it probably next week will be our actual major preview, because it starts on the 9th, so that will give everyone a week to listen to it. But like, yeah, EGNA complexity, like they all look the same, right? Like mentality wise, I'm like, okay, just get through, right? Do something, win a map.
Be there on the second weekend, and
Right.
that would be cool. You know, like when we get into Legend stage, be there for the Legend stage, top 16. That would be a win for an NA team. But
Right.
We'll get into that here in a little bit. We obviously got a couple things to get to before CS talk, but I'm glad to see that we're both equally excited to talk. Like the last couple weeks have been great for Counter-Strike, you know, with all the RMR events going on, both EU events and then NA. Like we've had some really good and exciting Counter-Strike and an ability to see some young players, but now it'll be time to talk about, you know, the big boys at the show here.
Yes. Now, I will say one thing we can talk about with the major, which is not talking necessarily about the major, is I think the one team, when I look back at the history of Counter-Strike and I look at one org that definitely just deserves to be there. You know, they've done just everything right in the history of CS, and just, you know, I think the players on the org deserve it. And of course, I'm talking Cloud9. Cloud9 scratched from the grave of CS, Anuj, and they earned their spot. I don't think anyone could say otherwise.
You know what? I'm not even gonna lie. I'm happy to see them back. I mean, it's weird. Like this situation is very unique, but I think that Gambit got lost in CIS anyway because Na'Vi is like the team, and Gambit, although they were, you know, luckily for them, they were a top 5 team, but still not the best team in your region. They're gonna very quickly be adopted by NA fans. Like there will be a point in time where there will be no NA teams left to root for, and trust me, we would much rather root for a Russian-based team than probably even a Brazilian team at this point.
Yeah, don't even tempt me with that one. Look, let's not get one thing twisted here, okay? Because I am a Cloud9 fanboy. Everyone knows this, okay? So obviously Discord was just congratulating me like I was the one who just qualified for the major, which I appreciate because I feel like it. You know, like the pressure was on my shoulders to have Cloud9 at the major, and the fact that they're there, I feel, you know, I don't want to say fulfilled, Anuj, because we're there for the trophy. Okay, we're there to cross the finish line in first place, not just to attend the dance. However, do not get it twisted. This is an NA team. I don't care if they're playing under the EU side of things. I don't care if their roster is CIS. Cloud9 is an NA org. They represent North American Counter-Strike. They're the only North American team to have a major. I don't care what the flags say underneath the players' names. This is an NA org. They're going to have the full support of the NA fan base behind them, just with the history behind Cloud9 in CS.
Once Liquid is eliminated, I would agree with that.
You really think? I think even now people will just, again, it's hard to look
Cloud9's been dead for a long time. Sure, you're a true supporter, and there are others out there, but like Cloud9 CS has not, even when they were around, they were not around.
But
so
thankfully,
Liquid has carried to me that fill that void, and thankfully so, because they did it in an amazing way for a long time. Let's not forget, outside of them not getting a major, they were the most dominant team NA has ever seen on an international stage, besides one event from Cloud9. So, I think NA will adopt them, but I don't think it's like an over a Liquid type thing. People will root for them, but Liquid's still NA. Cloud9 will not be competing in any NA qualifiers next year all of a sudden. Like they're going to be playing CIS still.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, yes, that's the obvious, right? But I just think like the way even Cloud9 is going to advertise them and promote them is going to be very much heavily towards the American fan base. So, A, there's that. And B, from EU people saying like, LOL, they're not NA. First off, okay, I'm going to say this. I'm going to get this off my chest right now, Anuj, okay?
Wait, are we skipping all of Yikes and all that? Like, what happened here? I'm so confused on which direction.
We'll go back to Yikes after this. We'll do RMR.
We're just doing a Cloud9 discussion.
We're just doing, yeah.
Okay, I was making sure. I wasn't sure where we were headed here.
Yeah, no, I don't.
This is just in the Cloud9 appreciation.
It's just Cloud9 appreciation.
Okay,
and now I'm going to go on an EU CS rant. So we'll do CS, Yikes, VCT. How about that?
Works for me.
Okay. We NA fans have been listening and kept we've bit our tongues on this for a while. Hold on, timeout. My wife is blowing up my phone right now. She just doesn't understand what a professional podcast does. Oh, okay. Handle that.
You were about to rant about
I handle that broad. Yeah, EU CS. They've been doing this forever now, where they're making fun of NACS for sucking. And I can't help to see that half the people making fun of NA for sucking are also from like the UK, who I don't even know if they know what Counter-Strike is over there. Like, EU likes to take credit for EU being so good. Well, first off, CIS, that's Russia, okay? That's not, I don't consider them as EU, like an EU team. Okay, you did that with Valorant as well, where you claimed it when all of a sudden now they can be EU because they won Masters. So, hey, or the champs, that's cool. We're EU now. We don't look at them as CIS. Okay, so no, that's wrong. And then like you have everyone from the UK talking shit, but like Astralis is good. Well, they're from Denmark. Like, we just claim in every country now in EU. Is that how we're doing it? You're talking shit for all of EU? Like, no. So no, if that's the case,
the French have sent one team, basically.
We're claiming Cloud9 as NA. Right here on the show, it's official. Cloud9's NA.
I'm going to be 50. Cloud9 is 50% there. Well, I'm kind of like, I will root for them. I'm going to tell you that. So they have my NA fandom as number 2 going into this major. There's only 2 though. So there's 3 actually. We got complexity too. I forgot they made it. Yeah, I mean there is 3. They will hold the number 2 spot in my heart for now. I will still root for Liquid over them, but it makes for a fun story, and I'm just happy in general that Cloud9 is back in Counter-Strike. Like, they really needed to be. That brand is meant too much to CSGO, right? Maybe not like if you're looking at all the years, but like Cloud9 in general to CSGO has been such a huge part of the scene. They do have a loyal fan base. They will be adopted by a region that is desperately looking for children at this point to cheer for, right? Like, we need something. We will take anyone. And so luckily it is a fantastic team that has a real opportunity to win. And yeah, for sure. Like, if no one's left standing, that is my de facto team to root for sure.
Yeah, I do think from a historical standpoint, Cloud9 is just an org you want involved in your esport, right? Like, they are a top 10 esport. You know, like when Forbes does their list every year, Cloud9 is always there. They're involved with all the biggest esports out there and typically are relevant in all of those esports. So I think it's very important for them to be in CS. It felt weird for the longest time that they weren't. And I also think, I guess everyone, round of applause for Decay, because I guess he was finally right after all of these years. And all you have to do is spend money, Yeah.
Are you surprised that Cloud9 re-entered the scene this way?
I am surprised how it wasn't leaked. Like, this was like a genuine, everyone on the scene was like, what? Like, this had to have happened in like one phone call, because how this wasn't leaked. And I know we jokingly said that, oh, this is how Cloud9 gets back into the scene, just buy one of these teams out that can't do it. I know we jokingly said it one time on the show. I am surprised at how fast it happened. Like, maybe if this war kept going on and we saw even after the major, like, Gambit wasn't able to do it, because why would an org keep paying players to do stuff, right?
Yeah.
That I understand. But to do it this fast before the major, I would love to know the payout, because it probably had to been like, what are we thinking?
And whatever it was a lot, at least 500,000 plus, you know.
Man,
like
I was thinking
it could have been a lot more, but who knows what Gambit's financial situation is. They probably needed to dump like the players, would be my guess, right? Like, you're right, they're probably paying a hefty salary. I'm more a little surprised that, like, I'm surprised in a good way that Cloud9 was willing to spend this kind of money to re-enter CS.
You know
right?
what it tells
we always
me?
talk about CS as like a bad investment, right? It's just it's usually not a good investment. For some, I'm sure it's okay, but for most, it doesn't seem to like be financially the responsible thing to do. And so for them to not only come back in at one point with the, what were we calling that team? The Juggernaut? What was that stupid name?
The Colossus.
Colossus. They came in, they spent a ton of money, it failed, and then they took a break, they reassessed, and now they're coming in with big money again, because you know they got like huge salaries, right? Like, their salaries can't be small. They're probably in the top 10 to 20% of like what the tier 1 teams are making. So it's just more impressive to me that, you know, they were willing to take this gamble on them. And, you know, they come in with the top 5 team, but like, are they going to be adopted by our fan base? How is this going to work? We're going to have to be like having, you know, players live out of the country. Majority of ours probably live in the States. Like, there were just so many factors to this, and for them to still go through with it and do it and re-enter the scene, it shows, I think, how much CS meant to them as a like organization, right? Like, how badly they wanted to be involved and what they were willing to do to re-enter it. So kudos to them. Like I said, at the end of the day, I'm really happy they're back into the scene, and they're coming back in as legends, right? So they're going to be plastered on the main stage, and their team has a chance to win it all. So it's a cool way to re-enter the scene, to say the least.
And I do think it shows that they were always ready to get back into the scene. They were just waiting for the right opportunity.
Like, they didn't want to do it with the roster that Complexity has right now, for example, because I think they knew, okay, making contenders, that is a win for that roster, right? If they make Legends, I would think that's like a huge win for Complexity's roster. But for Cloud9, probably not what they're looking for. Like, hey, if we're going to do this, we tried it with the Colossus. We expected that to be a top 5 roster. That was their goal. Well, this was their other way to get a top 5 roster, and it was wait for the right team to be available. And
right.
And they had a couple of choices. I'm sure VP was possibly an option too, right? That's a young core of top 10 top 10 ranked team, and so they probably had an option or two, along with maybe one of the Brazilian teams that's looking for an organization that have qualified for this event. Like, there's they probably had some options out there, and so I think this was a great pick, because I feel like these players are truly dedicated to the game too. Like, they really just seem like grinders and people that are going to give it everything, and that's the kind of people you want playing for you, win or lose. People that are going to put in the work, and I think Gambit's shown that with limited resources compared to some of the biggest orgs out there. They've maintained a top.
I mean, the roster definitely has
spot.
More resources now with Cloud9 than they ever did with Gambit. I have like no knock on Gambit. I know they're a big successful org, but just for me, Cloud9 seems a different level as far as what the org is doing for their players, as far as what you see, anyways. And
move them to NA and take over #1 in every freaking league we have over here.
I mean, again, though, for an org like Cloud9, wouldn't that be something you would at least consider? Not that there's any leagues over here to take over, but, you know, what's Nerd Street doing nowadays with CS, right? They seem to be doing the only thing like that. So
you can take out like a Bad News Bear in ESL Pro League finals, or you could be playing against Na'Vi. What do you want to do?
Right. Either way, you get to the major. It doesn't matter who you beat to get there, right? You don't get any further for beating harder teams. And one side note here, just to take away, is the fact that Hobbit is now Cloud9. Just makes you warm and fuzzy on the inside. So I also saw them tweet out tongue in cheek. I don't know if they're actually doing it, but Cloud9 varsity jackets and polos, because Gambit used to have them.
I saw this whole polo thing,
man,
going around.
Cloud9 does a varsity jacket, Anuj.
I would get a Cloud9 polo. Wouldn't get a varsity jacket. It's like never cold.
We're in Texas
here, unfortunately. So like,
and that thing would be like $150.
I'm not like, I don't think I'm about to rock a
varsity jacket in your 30s.
A varsity jacket in my 30s, upper 30s now at this point.
They need a starter jacket.
A good golf polo. I wish teams. You know what? I'm giving this out for free. Okay, this is like free 30s and maybe even high 20s and older crowd. Okay, but we'll say 30s and older. But it applies to some in their 20s. Make a great golf polo. Good quality, breathable. Make it look kind of classy. You don't need to make it all like logoed out. Just give me your team colors, maybe with a little logo, over the tit. I would love that. I would love some good golf polos. I'm trying to golf a little bit more. I went to the range actually yesterday, so proud of myself for getting out there. But yeah, I would love a good golf polo. So esports orgs, trust me, your fan base is not all teenagers. You got some of us like dads out there.
We got some people that need to look professional out in public.
Well, yeah. Give me a solid polo. I would love to rock a couple of those.
There you go. A little fashion advice from gamer dads.
Now let's how about we talk some major, Tim? We talked Cloud9. We talked Apparel. Yep. Why don't we talk some major here?
Where would you like to go? Because I know we don't want to get too far into the teams.
I don't. So really what I want to so real quick, I'm just going to give a brief update from the RMR Group B.
Okay.
Because we talked about RMR Group A last week. We talked about NA the week before. So just to give a quick update of who advanced through and who maybe got left out. I think for the most part, this is not going to be an overly surprising list. And the least surprising thing is Copenhagen Flames going 3-0 during a major qualifier. Like, this seems to be their MO at this point. If there's a big event, Copenhagen Flames is going to be your 3-0 team. And you probably should pick that on your pick'em coming up. You have Players, who is former VP, qualifying as the number 2 team, and then NIP taking the next legend spot. I think there's one more, right? I think NIP was the last one. So that's your 3 legends coming out of the group: Copenhagen Flames, VP, and NIP. Tim, a couple teams that missed the cut because the rest are again Ent, G2, Astralis, Bad News Eagles, and Spirit, right? You say, towards the end, those 7 and 8 spots are kind of up for grabs. And the teams that missed out here that maybe people could have been expecting to see, Entropic, who has performed well over the past, really 6 months. They've done a fairly decent job. Sprout has also been like a team that has seen their ups and downs, but have played pretty well. And then the last 2 that I really would have felt, I think, given us feel-good stories, Anonymo, who's been playing fairly decent again over the last 6 months and have made decent runs, and then Heat, which is the French team led by Body, Lucky, and then Afro, who did really, really well in this qualifier. But they made it to the very end, gave Astralis a run for their money to qualify there, and just unfortunately didn't make it through. But I think this group was just a little bit more predictable of who we wanted to see get out. And sure enough, like, all the teams that you wanted to see or expected to see, did make it out alive.
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything that you just said. I will say, we said it last week that this was kind of the more uneventful of the groups on EU side. Do you not find it? Where we talked about it before with NIP a couple episodes ago. Now I don't know exactly when it was though, with Device, right? And surely he's not coming back now before the major, right? Do you think his time with NIP is done?
I mean, it's one of those things where you made legends without him. You're playing as a team, practicing with this team, And like, yes, if Device comes back and he wants to re-enter the lineup, you have to put him back in. Like, he's that kind of talent, right? But I think Nip needs to think long and hard about what they want their strategy to be, and does he really want to be there, right? Like, I almost look at Device, and this might be a good comparison or a really bad comparison. You let me know. But like almost like Ben Simmons a little bit, right? Like he is dealing with some mental health issues. He did have what I think he had an injury as well that he was dealing with. But I want to know that he's like all in on making this work and like wanting to make it work. Like we know he moved partially, he was living there, you know, and why he wanted to play for NIP. But his girlfriend at the time also lived there. They've broken up since. Like, I just don't know where his headspace at. I'm doing a lot of speculating here, but that's just off of like the rumors and nonsense that we read online. But I am genuinely a little curious, like, how bad does he want to be there? Like, do I think he should have made an effort to like show some signs of a return? There's really been no news. So for me, if I'm Nip, I give this roster its chance in the major. And depending on how they do, you can kind of figure out your decision, right? If Nip performs really well, take a game or two, advance. Maybe they don't win it. We don't think they're going to win it anyway, but maybe they don't win it, but they play pretty well. And, you know, he's not the reason, the new opper's the reason they're not losing. Then I think, you know, you let this team continue to grow together. And they got Brolin now, which was a great pickup. They've picked up S-Tag. They have Rez. Like, really, this team was, like, built to have a player like Device to kind of lift them over the top, you know? Right. But the more that they're getting a chance to play together and grow together, I would be scared to make that change all of a sudden if I don't know how invested, you know, he is to the team and wanting to be the best again.
I could almost see Device going back to Astralis. At least this, like, the stars are aligning to where Nip is performing well enough, like you said, to where maybe they don't want to mix the magic formula that's been working for them. And then Astralis has been playing poorly enough to where like their rebuild hasn't really set off. Maybe Zipnix and Glaive is texting their old buddy saying, "Hey man, what are you doing over there with Nip? I mean, like you want to come back?"
The funny thing is that is the perfect team for him. If he needed to look for another team, that's the perfect team for him to go back to, right? Like they're set up everywhere except for the Opper. That's the player they've been rotating. They got Farlig now, who's actually done pretty well, has not done a bad job for him. But you think, you know, regardless of where Device is at, that's an upgrade for him at that position. So yeah, the storyline would be great. But do you think Nip is going to take $1 less than what they bought him for?
I mean,
from Astralis? And do you think Astralis is going to pay what Nip paid them for Device? So, like, I see that being a sticking point, and that they might take less from somebody else, but they're not going to take $1 less from Astralis to get him back. Especially when this is how it's gone, right? Like, if he had been playing this whole time and it had gone bad, maybe, but not.
If this was like a normal sport, like traditional sports, there's something, I forget what the actual name of it is, but it's kind of like good grace clause, to where like if you make a trade and then that player ends up, something happens prior to like really playing, then like the trade can be reversed, right? Like sometimes in trade clauses, there's that would be this situation, because Nip has gotten absolutely nothing from that buyout. Nothing in the end.
No, they got some publicity early on, and that was really it. Like that was really it. We saw a couple of events where Device looked good. Didn't see much growth from the team as a whole. Like I think everybody was waiting to see Rez kind of live up to that number 2 slot. At the time he wasn't, but he's playing better without him. I think Brolin's a great addition. I like where this lineup is right now. But again, if Device is like fully committed to coming back, I think you find a way to work him back in. But yeah, if they can get their money back and reverse this deal, I think both parties would kind of be okay with that right now. Because I don't think Astralis wanted to ever let him go anyway.
Right. It was just the whole he wanted to move thing.
Yeah. And for Nip, you know, they thought this was going to be a slam dunk, elevate us into the top 5 rankings of the world, and they've yet to really see this take off at all. So yeah, I think both teams would kind of be okay with a takesy backsy situation here,
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk more about the other teams and everything next week when we do kind of more of the full-on preview discussion and things like that. Maybe with Cloud9 being back, I will make my returns to the CSGO Pick'em, which I have not done since the major that they won. And I didn't do that one. So maybe.
I will never not, since I've been doing it, and I don't think I'll ever be able to like stop now. It's just like an addiction of like getting that stupid souvenir token.
Oddly enough, one of the things that killed it for me, because I had that same attitude, was like, man,
you were out of town or something for one of them.
I was at the major for one of them. It's the Columbus major.
Oh.
And I have the coin, but like I didn't have a gaming laptop or even a laptop at the time. And so when you go there, they don't, like, the only way you can do the pick'em is in the game, and I had no access to the game. So here I am at the major in person, unable to do the pick'em. I was like, this is the dumbest thing in the world. Like, how does this not just web browser based or something? So kind of, and then once you lose one, you're like, okay, I guess it's not that big a deal.
Then it doesn't matter anymore.
Right. So there's that. However, what they did announce for the major, though, Anuj, and we don't have to go too far into it, was the talent lineup for the upcoming major. And normally, it's always controversial, and we get on here and say, how could they forget so-and-so? Or, oh, can you believe they got this person? Well, Anuj, I don't think you could say that this time around, because there's no other way to say it, but they did it. Everyone on this list is a banger. Every single one of them.
100% agree. I was so happy to see this list because, first of all, what they've done is they're taking out the old heads, right? So, and then it's not that I didn't want all of them not there. It's just we're seeing this transition happen, right? No Thorin, no what's his name? Richard Lewis.
No Thorn, no Richard Lewis.
No Anders.
Yanko.
So those four. Yeah, Yanko is not there. Moses obviously has not come back onto like the analyst desk.
Sadakist is not there.
Sadakist and obviously Henry G. So like we're now in this new era, and I think the ones they chose, we said this before last major, Tim. These people that they chose this time deserve it because they put into effort to making CSGO a more popular game or a better game or whatever, right? You think of Launders and Scrawny, dedicated to the game. These guys are grinders. They send them all over the freaking world to like cast even pro league games, and they go do it, and you never hear them complain on stream about being on for 5-6 hours because of tech delays. Launders has all his different series that he does, so great. Sponge and Machine, given that to me is the icon number one. I think number one for me probably of all time at this point. Like they're just that good. So love having them there. Just Harry and Hugo were left out last time. Think it's great that they're there. And then this was the interesting one for me. Vince and I don't know if he goes by Bleh or whatever, but like Vince was on the verge of like quitting. And he has had a lot of emotional posts that he has put out there about having a tough time finding a job. And I think it's really cool that PGL, whether they gave him this opportunity because they wanted to help him or gave him this opportunity because he was the best available, I think he was deserving of having, a chance to do this. And he's done a good job, and he's been dedicated to the CS scene. So I like rewarding people that are putting in the work. And not because, hey, you are a big name, Thorin, you need to be on this desk because guess what? You're going to draw the most viewers, and you're going to say a lot of ludicrous bullshit that is going to be something that's argumentative, and that's great for, highlight reels or whatever, but they gave it to the people that genuinely put in the time, spread positive energy, and so I absolutely love the group that they chose. Even the analyst, Pimp, I don't agree with half of what Pimp says, but
hey,
Pimp
did you know Pimp used to be a former pro?
He used to be a former pro and played with the likes of Simple and played with all of these guys.
He'll remind you every time he talks.
But Pimp is like so great in the sense that like he genuinely loves Counter-Strike. When he is not casting, he is streaming Counter-Strike 24/7, you know? When he is tweeting thoughts about the game, whether it's roster changes or what he would like to see or meta shifts, and like that's good. You don't have to agree with everybody. That's not what it's about. It's about like people that just deserve to be there because they put in the energy, and I think they did a great job across the board. Frankie coming back, you know, it's good to see this lineup, and for once, this not be the story going into the major of who got left off this list and who's not here, because really anybody that saw this list would have a hard time arguing against one of them. Maybe you wanted somebody else, but you would have a hard time arguing against any of these people.
And I can't believe this is Launder's first major ever. Like,
it's kind of embarrassing that he has not been invited before.
Right, because obviously we love Launders. He's, you know, mascot of the show. But for the fact that, like, even early on, like, this is, like, his pinnacle, right? In his career, I feel like he is the #1 caster for the events that he's in, him and Scrawny. So, like, to even imagine early on in his career, you know, when he was still good, like, how is he not even on, like, these early major group stages and things like that? Like,
yeah, like,
it's just that old guard, I guess, ran so deep.
Launders has always been, like, the premier secondary caster, right? So you think, like, the DreamHack events, maybe he would get, like, a couple of really good, like, ESL events or a Wii Play event, but, like, over the last, I think, really 2.5, like since COVID hit, like he's become like the premier caster in the game behind Sponge and Machine. I don't think there's like even a close second to Launders and Scrawny at this point in time. And so I think it was just one of those things where he paid his dues. Like there were people ahead of him, right? Like Anders and Moses, Henry G, and Anders and Semler, Moses. Then you had like Henry G, Sadakist. Like those guys were also great at it, and so there was a reason he was behind a couple of them. But I think he's put in his time, and now he's worked his way up to I think the second best casting duo there is right now. It'd be really cool if he got the finals. I wonder who's. I mean, I'm guessing Machine Sponge get it. If I
would assume, just because, like you said, on the scale of. If you had look, if both of them deserve to get there for the work they put in, then the tip of the scale goes to veteran, right? And I guess Sponge and Machine would get that nod. But that's only because I feel like they've been there a little longer. So there you go. I think either one of them though could easily do the finals. I will say this. Have you seen this thing that Semler tweeted out saying that he was asked to go, but he turned it down because of, and I quote, idiotic and immoral restrictions that they have in place?
They probably wanted him to like
work with a woman.
They probably wanted him to have the vaccine. That's probably what they told him or some nonsense. You know? No, but like, you know, look, that's just the type.
He asked if women were there and they were like, well, yeah. And he's like, well, then I'm out.
I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to be overly negative here, but I am going to be a little bit negative. I genuinely like Semler in his job. I think he was great for the game. I was happy to see him come back. I was sad to see him leave initially. So I'm going to say all of that before I say this. That's the kind of negative shit I don't want around the major. I don't need too many I don't need overly opinionated people on the talent side other than the analysts, and I only care about their opinions about the game, right? I don't need all this extra shit. Semler became the talk last time around because of everything that he said. You know, last time around we had Thorin, who also tries to steal the spotlight and make things about him. Richard Lewis, a polarizing figure, although he does his job very well, still can like kind of almost overshadow things at a time because of his big personality. The people that they selected this time, to me, are just about the game, you know? And Semler's tweeting that out solidified that even more in my mind. It was probably I don't know if I 100% believe him, but it was the right decision not to have him there, whether it was his decision not to go there or ultimately their decision to withdraw it because he wasn't agreeing to their terms. It seems like it's the right decision to not just have that around the major, and they got the right group.
Yeah. No, and look, even just to say on that note too, I just looked up Thorne's Twitter. And literally 10 hours ago, he tweeted pretty much the same exact thing, that he won't be working any PGL events as they have hysterical restrictions in place.
Good. So Thorne has now banned himself from PGL. He has banned himself from ESL. So, it's one less thing I have to worry about seeing him in. He's slowly fading himself out to just Dexerto podcast, so that's fine with me.
Boy, ain't that the truth. All right, so there's some CSGO RMR talk. We'll talk more major. There's a little preview of the major preview, though, for next week. Let's get to Yikes of the Week real quick, and then we can get into some VCT Masters. First Yikes of the Week, I will go. This was, I guess, leaked or revealed earlier that in Halo, during development, this has been leaked and confirmed by people working on the game, Anuj, that in its time of being delayed, that there were talks of them working out a hero, like a class based for Halo. So like any game nowadays, right? I think more probably along the lines of Rainbow Six Siege more than an Overwatch hero based type of shooter, but same style. Call of Duty sometimes will have
either
those
way,
classes.
Unique abilities to each character.
Right, exactly. And man, first off, I'm not a huge fan of that style of games, but whatever. I'm very selective, I guess I should say, on that type of game that I enjoy.
Bro, you would have hated that if it was Halo, because that's not a Halo.
But Halo, exactly. And then for it to be like the newest Halo coming to PC and everyone getting hyped, and then they're like, and by the way, we're changing the game. Everyone would be like, bro, we waited our entire life to have Halo on PC, and now you're going to fuck with us and give us heroes? Like, die. Like,
I'm going to merge two of these Yikes here, okay?
Real quick, and I'll give you this one. And the fact, though, that this was in discussion for a game that was already delayed, like...
Well, why do you think it was delayed, Tim? It's because they were working on a hero-based system, realized it was shit, and then trashed it, and have to go back and build another game now that's not a hero-based game.
But also half-assed beyond belief. Like that, this explains everything, though, that even up to the point of being delayed and in the process of being made, they had no direction they wanted to take this thing.
It still confuses me, how do they not have more maps ready, though? That's a different team that does map work, right?
That's
the
all
team
they
that's
do
building
is map design.
The heroes and all that. There's a team that does map design and map work. Still doesn't, you said, it kind of explains everything. It doesn't explain the lack of other areas that this game falls short in, right? And this is where I was talking about combining two of these Yikes, because Tim and I have gotten back into Destiny 2. The Witch Queen is out. It's always a game that we go back to, so it's not surprising that we've come back again to kind of mess around because we enjoy the PvP and the feel of the game is good, right? So every time we come back in, first thing we always say to each other, wow, the shooting in this game just feels so good. It doesn't matter what year it was, whether it was Destiny Year 1 or Destiny Year 6. The shooting feels flawless in this game. And Tim, to me, this is where this statement is going. Microsoft runs this ship, right? 343 has clearly fucked up Halo beyond belief. Right, Halo is almost entering. I think they actually have. They have entered danger zone area.
Oh, they're in
with their newest IP, right?
Yeah.
We're there.
Yeah.
Player numbers, sadly, very, very low. Esports numbers dwindling at the same time because the player base is falling. So less people paying attention to your game. You have some of the biggest orgs involved, yet their fans are not following from their Call of Duty titles or their Counter-Strike or their Valorant. Like, they're not merging over into this. It's not a lack of people watching esports, Tim, because we just saw VCT pull 1 million viewers for a finals match, so we know people are out there watching. This is not something that we can blame, like, oh, well, YouTube has all the rights to this. Like, this is, to me, a 343 has once again butchered a Halo game. And if I'm sitting there and I'm Microsoft and I have this IP that I know should draw in the masses based on just the name alone, and all you got to do is put an average product out there, I would consider like going back to Bungie and being like, hey, look, we're sorry, we shouldn't have done this. Like, can we hire you all back on to run this game for us? You know, and just do what you did with Destiny. Give us the same feel of a world and of a game, and let's like do this. Make this a Destiny style game. You don't. Obviously, you can't hire Bungie because Bungie's not going to want to kill off Destiny.
Wasn't Bungie just bought by someone, or talks of being bought by someone?
Either way, like they need
Sony.
to move on from 343.
Yeah, Sony just bought Bungie. So that ain't happened in Microsoft.
But you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, they need a game that feels and plays good, and they don't have that after 6 years of development time.
Right.
There's not enough maps out. They released with half the game modes that were available. Forge is still not anywhere to be seen as far as I know. Like, it didn't get announced with this season's updates, so we're going to be waiting at least another 3-4 months before we get any Forge news. It's embarrassing. It's just embarrassing for like a game that I know you were so hyped about. That, do you have it installed still?
No, I actually just installed it. I did like a cleaning of my PC the other.
So you just uninstalled it?
Actually, when I was trying to make room for Destiny, that was one of the victims. I was like, yeah.
Okay, but so you made a selection to go back to a 6-year-old game.
Right.
And take out Halo.
For everything you said. Like, and we don't need to bog down about why Halo sucks, because everyone knows it, and anyone who says it doesn't is in denial.
But it's just hearing these stories, Tim, that like you bringing up the hero-based system. It's just another thing. Like, man, they were just off from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't.
Well, and then there's already talks of 343 outsourcing the development now, like, you know, like to help maintain the updates and things like that, which, you know, I don't think is probably uncommon in the gaming world to outsource little things to other studios. That's probably common. But at the same time, when you're 343 and Halo is the only thing you got going on, like, your game isn't really even full. It doesn't even feel like it's fully released. It feels like it's early access at this point still. And now you're just outsourcing it already. Like, doesn't bode well. It doesn't.
Like, you generally feel like you outsource it once your game is in maintenance mode.
Right.
Like, hey, we have a game that we like. We're in a good spot. We can work on our next project. We just need somebody to like keep the servers going. You know, like, let's make sure there's no hiccups here. Not when you're in dire need for drastic change.
Like,
I don't think it's ever coming. And if it does come, it'll be too late, and it'll never be what it was supposed to be.
It'll never be what it was supposed to be.
That'll be the sad downfall of Halo this time around.
It would almost need like a re-grand opening. Like, they would almost have to figure out a way to relaunch it with such a massive update. But I don't see. I just don't see it happening.
Gamers just like move on, dude. We do it. Like, it's not even like I can say this like it's a younger generational thing. Like, you and me are quick to pull the trigger when we are bored. And this is not just Halo in this talk, right? We could talk about Lost Ark. We could talk about any game. When we're done with the game and either the game has failed us or we're out of content, we move on.
But we also come back, like we just said with Destiny. It's not.
We came back to Destiny because Destiny was like a good game the first time I played it.
Right.
I didn't leave Destiny because Destiny sucked. I love Destiny because we beat the game at the end of season 1. You know, like we had done everything.
There is a chance for Halo to make somewhat of a comeback, but like somewhere below Call of Duty, but ahead of Battlefield.
Okay, so if I asked you to do this right now,
if we're judging it there,
Halo 1 year from today, okay? Fast forward for me.
okay.
Halo 1 year from today, where are you putting it on the tier list, you think? So what faith do you have 1 year from today?
Well, no, when we do our esports tier list, I mean, spoiler alert, I think it's like back down to like a D tier. Like it lost all.
Do you think it would still be there 1 year from today, or do you have any faith in 343 to right this ship and maybe bring it up a notch? Like, could this go from a D to? Is there any way you see this going from a D to a C 1 year from now?
The only way, and this is going to be funny, the only way they do it is if they add Forge. And the only way it comes back is not because 343 did anything other than add Forge. It would be the map creators and the game mode creators in the community making something so fun and original that people would want to download to play this new crazy Forge game mode that someone created.
It would be a battle royale, right? Like that would be the only thing in my mind that through Forged or through 343.
Whatever,
either
right.
one, whoever wants to do it, somebody take ownership there. Think it would be 343 at this point. That's probably what they're working on. But I think the only way to relaunch Halo now is you release a free-to-play battle royale that's damn good. It draws people in. Hopefully, over the period of the next year, your updates are good and bring multiplayer back to a fun, enjoyable state. Big team battles, not glitched to hell. You have 10 plus maps. Guns are somewhat balanced. Like, okay, then maybe. But I think it all is going to still stem from a successful battle royale to try to bring the masses back. People don't go back for MP. They don't do it for Call of Duty.
No, but like I said, there's still the thing is like there was so much that wasn't put into the game at launch. It's just it's weird. Like they can add so much to the game and be like pat themselves on the back, like, hey guys, look, we added all this stuff in there, but it still just highlights how much wasn't in the game at launch. Like it's just that's all it would highlight. So
after a year of delays.
But either way, let's move on because Halo is dead and there's no reason to talk about it. Let's talk VCT Masters because although it's done, it's not dead. It's very much alive. We had the VCT Masters for this year pop up. The first one came and went. Just to catch everyone up who's missed all of our recaps from previous episodes, EU is trash. None of them even made the top 4. G2 was the highest, who got 5th, 6th place, and Liquid 7th, 8th. So there's that.
This to me was an interesting event because it was like, expect the unexpected. All those tweets that were going around like a year ago, whether it was for people leaving Counter-Strike to Valorant and whatever else was going on. That's what this event was. Expect the unexpected. The only thing that I expected to happen was, I think for OpTic to like do fairly well. I thought they would at least make a semifinals, like make that kind of a run, right? But nobody else that I thought would show up necessarily showed up. And we have all these young gun teams that, Zeta being the outlier here because they've been together for a little bit of time and finally won their first like international.
I think it was finally for the first time, and I even said it. I'll step up because I dog on them a lot on the podcast. Is Japan finally stepped up, right?
Yeah,
I think for the longest time people were always expecting because Japan in general, in esports and in FPS especially, is a very unknown, untapped region in FPS. Is that fair to say?
100%.
Just not a very. I mean, even in like Overwatch, you have China. Right, so we've had a taste of the Chinese market with FPS through Overwatch and things like that. But Japan still, I mean, that wasn't. I can't think of one Japanese player off the top of my head. So for them to be in Valorant, the hype was there, and man, they just kind of sucked up until this point. So it's good to see them finally kind of live up to that hype and that potential.
Yeah, for me, it just shows like how much untapped like talent there is out there for Valorant. Right, like every region is still growing. The game is still expanding. People are getting better. Agents are still being introduced on a consistent basis. Fade being the newest one. So all of these things change the meta and allow somebody else to master a character that nobody else has. That's hard to do in other games. Like Counter-Strike, that is the game that you are playing, and if you want to get to the best, you have to somehow close the gap of 10,000 hours of effort that somebody else has put into the game already if you're a new player. With Valorant, you can kind of go in, it's still kind of new, but there could be a new agent that nobody has touched on, and you're on level footing with maybe learning that one agent. And it's cool because like right now, teams like Loud, PaperRex, DRX, these teams are finding like this incredible talent in their regions, and they're only going to get better. Like not all of these teams will get better, but you could expect a handful of them. Like they will be better next time around. Loud was really, really good. Now people will look at the finals and be like, "Oh, they lost 3-0." Well, they just beat OpTic like the round before.
Right.
So this was like,
And I think that's one thing to note is that in Valorant, for every one of these international events that we're seeing, remember that first time in Iceland last year? Think back to that first event. It wasn't even a question that NA and EU are going to be in the finals. Like, yeah, we were talking Korea. Maybe you'll see, like, whatever. But truly, heart to heart, money on the table, it was NA, EU. That was the talk. One of those teams are taking it, and we'll go from there.
That was the talk this time around, too. It's just that's not what happened.
Right, and that's the difference is every one of these international events, we're seeing these teams from other regions get a little bit more comfortable, get a little bit more creative, and making a little bit more trouble for NA and EU side. So I am very much excited to see that kind of progress.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. I'm really happy for OpTic. I'm happy for FNS. It looks like they'll at least keep this roster together for one more event, without making a change. We've just become accustomed to OpTic rotating out somebody after each event is what it's felt like ever since Caboose. And so it's nice for them to pull out a win, probably is good on Chet's resume, their coach, they feel like they probably made the right decision in bringing him over.
I am too. Like, first off, yeah, FNS, we've talked to them before at Counter-Strike events. Just one of, if not the brightest IGL that I've ever spoken with when it comes to just having conversations about the game and how they approach things. And you can just tell the way he carries himself in normal conversation. Like, that's a dude that you would want leading your roster. And I don't want to take credit for this victory. However, someone from the org back before they were in Valorant said, hey, if there's one IGL who you would want to sign, not saying for Valorant, not saying for CS, they just text me saying, who's a good NA IGL? And I said, if you can get FNS, that's the guy. So I don't want to take...
We should go pull these messages because these are real messages.
I don't want to take credit, but maybe we're the reason NA won? I don't know.
We'll leak all these names when Tim and I call this quits at some point in life. We'll leak out all this information to y'all.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. Because we're gonna take credit when credit's due. But that being said, too, I am a little surprised OpTic the way they won. Right? Because I even said last week, like I was very on shaky grounds with OpTic coming in, and that's just because historically, even with Envy, like they've always been good, right? They've always been a top 5 NA team, but this is different now, right? Last time at Champs was the last international event, and really the last big event that we saw them in. They fell flat and got swept. And so it was like, okay, now they are once again kind of bearing that cross of being NA's hopes and dreams at this event. EU's out. Did I tell you that? EU didn't make a top 4. And so now that like they had that weight on their shoulders, I was like, okay, what's going to happen? And then that first time against Loud, they dominated them. That first map in the upper bracket finals where they beat them 13-2 on Fracture, and I was like, easy, done. Like this is easy grand finals, and Loud came back as you said and got the next 2 maps beating them 2-1. But But after that, man, that was like the wake-up call I guess OpTic needed, because they swept Zeta, and then in the finals they swept Loud. And look,
with Loud, granted, 2 games in overtime, and then the first one was even a 9-13.
But I was about to say this, and I knew you were going to say that, and now I'm going to say this, because I even told you this prior. Although those score lines are close, with 2 of them being in overtime, and maybe I'm just being a homer here, watching it, you never once felt like Loud was in the game. Like you just didn't. Now, for first off,
okay, on Ascent, definitely
Ascent
not, right?
Was,
because
that
it was
was
like 10-2. It felt over to start off.
Right, that was Loud making somewhat of a comeback.
With Bind, I really thought like Loud was going to win that game halfway through the second half, because they had won like 5 or 6 rounds in a row to start off the second half. OpTic hadn't shown any sign of life, and they had pulled that game back to like I think 1 or 2 rounds maybe at that point, but they had ripped off like 6 straight on Bind. I really thought Loud was going to win Bind before OpTic started taking a couple rounds towards the end, but it was like a nail biter. Breeze, you're right. Breeze felt like a blowout, but then once again, like Loud went on.
That's what I'm saying. Like they did go over. I'll give credit.
It was a game of streaks, is what it felt like, right? Like it felt like OpTic always had the upper hand at the start of the match, so it always felt like Loud was playing catch up. But to be fair, they did catch up pretty much every time. They just couldn't close them out once they went into overtime.
Which and honestly, I hope this Loud roster sticks together, because to me, that's the growing pains of playing a major event on LAN. Right, which this team's not necessarily used to, right? I think this was like their first big international event. So to me, that's just the growing pains of the pressure, right? And they're going to be better for it. They're going to grow from this. I think the Valorant world has now taken note what we've known in the CS world for the longest time, which is Brazilian sides are obnoxiously good and obnoxious, right? So I just wanted to vomit the fact that I had to sit through a best of 5 through the Greenwall fan base and Brazilian fans. I was like, this is the battle of the most obnoxious. Which fans can be more obnoxious, the Greenwall or Brazilians? But thankfully, it was just a 3-0 sweep, so we didn't have to sit through it as much. But that being said, I love my OpTic family. I'm still hesitant to say I'm part of the Greenwall, just because those wounds cut deep for many years of not liking them. But regardless, I think it was an incredible finals. I think in OpTic, it seemed like at any given point, they had someone step up. Like Ye was doing nuts in one map. Then you would have like FNS pop off. I think at one time he had like 19 kills or something like that. Maybe in the first half of Bind, was it? Was that the one?
Yeah. I think he went nuts early on.
Or maybe maybe it was Ye who had 19. Well, someone went off though. But my point is like each of them kind of was like holding their own as far as OpTic was concerned. So think it's good. Not gonna lie though, I was still shocked a little bit to see NA take victory over it. I just given what happened the last international event, but hey, it's good to remind people that we're still here.
Like no Sentinels, and it was like you're just kind of curious as to like what it was going to look like. But yeah, I mean, look, going into the next event, it's honestly a toss up to me on who wins these damn things. Because,
well, I think that's the beauty of
nobody
it.
on EU looks like a favorite, but then teams make 3 or 4 roster changes, and it's like you don't know what you're getting with the next crop of young bucks coming in. So interesting to say the least. It was fun to watch. Excited to see this new character, because I did go back and they showed like some videos with the abilities and stuff. Ooh, it looks like one that I might actually enjoy playing. It's an initiator, and I like to entry a lot of the time. So I do like that new class coming in. I think it'll be something that we actually see introduced into the meta, just based on like what her gameplay looks like.
From what I am understanding, a kind of a Breach, not clone, but looks similar to Breach's style. So remind me after the show. I'll open up Valorant to update it, and then we can play some possibly tonight or sometime this week. So got to get back on that Valorant grind. Even though tomorrow's the Overwatch beta news, I don't know.
Only if you got into it, right?
Yeah, but you don't know until tomorrow. They make you sweat it out. They make you sweat. So either way, congratulations to everyone at OpTic, all of our friends over there. Awesome to see. Still partially wish it was envy in my eyes. It always is, but still just awesome to see that roster kind of play out and the way it was built and things like that. So anything else from VCT Masters? I still hate the styles on the desk. I still think everyone dresses like a bum. But other than that, talk about polos, right? They need polos.
I'm trying to be too cool for school, but no, a good event, great viewership.
Incredible viewership.
Yeah, like really good viewership. And that's what happens when you're hitting every region, right? Like when everybody's interested in watching and everybody has something to lose, like they do a good job of it, and the teams played well. So I thought it was a successful event. I actually still hate the damn just VCT format in general.
Well,
I don't think I want to see more international events and less qualifiers into all of these events, like maybe do some sort of point system or something and just do a bunch of international events. But I know that's hard. So, hopefully that becomes better. But for what we're getting, it's great games. And look, we're seeing new talent. Every time I watch an international event, I get introduced to somebody new, and that's awesome. So can't complain.
Excellent. Let's get into e-news. Not the end yet. E-news to wrap up things real quick with CSGO. French President Emmanuel Macron wants to host CSGO Major, the International, and I think there was one other. It was like a trifecta. But basically
he wants the Olympics.
At the Olympics in 2024. So basically hosting like a Major, the International, and maybe Riot League of Legends Finals, if I was mistaken. Basically, though, that's what he wants to do. Look, I don't care for the Olympics and esports being at the Olympics. I'm not one of these people who feel like it needs to happen or should happen for that matter. I don't think it should. I think they should be separated. But you can sell me on like a CSGO International and every other major event in one place. That
I would be down for like an esports Olympics, right? Where all the biggest events are held over like a 2 or 3 week span in one city. Like that would be cool.
But I just don't need them at the Olympics.
And congrats to the press. He did get reelected. Thankfully, his opponent seemed a little crazy. So,
Chocolat bleu. Yeah, his opponent, wasn't this the woman who like said she supports Russia if she won?
Yeah.
If liking esports wasn't going to do it, that sure helped him win.
It's like what bumped him over the top.
Did you see him on election day, what he was wearing?
Cloud9 jersey?
No, a Vitality hoodie.
Oh, really?
Pretty sweet looking Vitality. It wasn't like, it looked very French theme, but it was just like colors with Vitality Esports on it. So,
that's sick.
Look, either genius pandering or he's an actual fan. So,
hey,
one or the other.
The fact that he's interested to some extent, I'll take it.
We got him. Hey, thoughts and prayers, everyone, for Zeus, the Brazilian coach, as he has suffered from a heart attack yesterday. So sending good vibes his way. Speedy recovery, Zeus, friend of the show. Awesome dude. Good dude. He has spent way more time than he should have talking to us at events. So obviously wish him the best. 34 years old and a heart attack.
That's rough. Yeah, hope he gets back strong from it, and just takes care of himself, because esports will mess your shit up. It's a brutal way to live. So
we were talking about before the show, man. It's the health of us gamers in the next 15 years. A lot of stress, a lot of energy drinks, a lot of late nights. God help us all.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, speaking of late nights and energy drinks, DreamHack Dallas, IEM Dallas, also known as Complexity and Liquid, both qualify for that. So, hey, we get to see them. In Valorant, Cloud9, this has been reported, or I guess official now at this point, but the 10's buyout to 100 Thieves. So it was always rumored on what it was, and we all knew it was something ridiculously high. Well, Anuj, it looks like it was $2 million is what Cloud9 said. Hey, 100 Thieves, you guys want 10s? $2 million.
They were setting up the Gambit buy ever since then. Before Russia attacked, they knew they wanted Gambit, so if they were trying to get a steal, it didn't work out.
If they were trying to sell 10s for $2 million, man, what did they buy an entire roster of a top 5 CS team for? Makes you wonder. But that's also like when I look for comic books on eBay and I'm like, there's one comic on there and it's like for like $10,000, but it's also been there for like 10 years. You're like, okay, you can put 10s up there for $2 million, guys. Like, I don't know if anyone's gonna buy it. Doesn't mean he's worth it. Like, can
I do a quick rewind here and take you back to CS:GO for a second for one more news update for you? Because it's IEM Dallas related. And again, Tim and I are going to throw out IEM Dallas a ton.
We'll be there.
We're going to be there. So another team qualified. Tell me if this excites you. Do you know the team Imperial?
Sounds familiar.
So this team, you'll know the names for sure. They've also qualified for the major, Tim. They have Vinny. This is a Brazilian team. Vinny, Bolts, Fur, Fallen.
Oh yeah, okay,
FNX.
yeah. This was his team.
So it's a Fallen project with FNX, Fur, Bolts, and Vinny.
Funny?
So they've also qualified for IEM Dallas, and I mean, oh my god, what a stacked freaking event!
Talk about like how moods can change, right? Where if you would have told me that roster 5 years ago, I would have punched you in the face because I would have hated every one of those players. Now I'm like, hell yeah. I am so ready to watch that roster play. Speaking of young people who I'm surprised haven't had a heart attack, shout out Bolts. Hope you're...
You're like always giving this dude a hard time. Bro, poor guy.
Bolts is 25 years old and he looks...
about 340.
He looks...
I mean, he looks aged gracefully.
No, those are some...
I've never seen like bigger bags in my life under the eyes.
That is some darkness around those eyes.
Needs to sleep. Like really needs to take a nap.
God love him, but I'm just looking out for him is all. Where was I? Ethan joins NRG at the expense of Android, so Android's out. So hopefully he finds a spot. Friend of the show. Zoms is stepping down from Sentinels, picking up Kenpeki. So, little surprised by that, a little bit.
I mean, everybody is like assuming like it was going to be Sinatra, right? But I think they've also just moved on.
Well, Zoms and Sinatra are buddies too. So as soon as I heard that Zoms was stepping down, like I knew it wasn't going to be Sinatra because like they still hang. So maybe you'll see them try to start something up or do a double signing somewhere.
Zoms also said that he wasn't sure how long he wanted to play Valorant for. Remember, he said that right after they won Iceland the first time. You know, he was like, oh, you know, I moved around from game to game. I'm just a a really good gamer. And so I don't know how long I'll stick around. So I don't know if he even necessarily stays in Valorant for much longer.
Maybe he goes to Overwatch with the beta. Hey, speaking of coming to Valorant, Kenny S expected to sign with OG. So finally seeing that happen. Interested to see how it works out. You know, I mean, you know us. We love us some Kenny S. So I will never poo-poo Kenny S playing anywhere. It does suck to see him out of CS, but if this gets me Kenny S, so be it. You're muted.
Yeah, I was coughing. I didn't want to cough on stream and I forgot to unmute. I would be happy to see him back, but like it would be sad at the same time. Like I just want to see him. He was just he's meant
kinda
a
like
lot
seeing
to Counter-Strike, so it kind of
like an ex-lover flourish with another, you know? You're like, I'm happy for you, but it does suck. It does suck. We had the good times though.
Like
and college
Stafford.
No, there was no. That was, listen, I knew in that relationship, I knew it was me. I was a fat slob who treated him wrong, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him. Also, Matthew Stafford, first off, I love the guy, was in Detroit this weekend for Miguel Cabrera's 3000th hit. He was at the game. So, nice. And there's the AT&T commercial where Matthew Stafford makes a hint at how he'll always love Detroit. So
yeah, I saw that.
And every time
that was a cool little like subtle
every
thing.
time I see that commercial, and even at, like the parade, I always like slap my wife on the arm. I'm like, you see that? You see that? He still thinks of us. He still thinks of us. Like, I just love the guy so much, and I know he still loves Detroit, even though he can't say it because he's in LA now, and you can't say you still like your old team. But I think he still thinks about it.
Look, he's retiring, going into the Hall of Fame as a Lion.
Yeah, 1000%. In Call of Duty, Toronto will host the CDL Major Trace. And John Ram invests $20 million into Boston Breach. Who is John Ram?
Pro golfer, very popular and good pro golfer.
Okay, what an awesome name, John Ram.
Yeah.
In Overwatch 2 news, well, not so much Overwatch 2 news, but it's been reported that Ubisoft is developing an Overwatch style game currently called Project Q. So, I don't know if that's the wagon you want to hitch your clone game to, but there's that.
It'll be riddled with microtransactions and play like a mobile game.
It will.
I guess.
Man, do you ever have any faith in Ubisoft at this point?
No, not after they messed up. What is that game that we all kept trying every time it came out? In New York City.
Oh shit! What was it called?
Why am I drawing a blank here?
Not Division. No?
Division? Yeah, Division. Yeah, Division.
Division.
Yeah.
Boy, yeah, that had some potential. Speaking of Overwatch, though, Division. Thank you, Wolf. Overwatch 2 beta comes out tomorrow by 11 p.m. Pacific time. You will know if you got in. If you didn't get in, you can watch it on Twitch and get in through Twitch drops for Wednesday. So pretty much, I'm assuming this will be like Valorant, where like 99.99% of people who want to get in will get in by the end of it. So look, the hype is real. Anuj, I'm going to force you to watch it so you can get in the beta and we can play together, even though you'll probably get in tomorrow and I won't, because you get in every beta based off of being a minority. But besides,
they probably already sent me the email, honestly.
Yeah, right. You're going to get a gift box in the mail with your beta key and I'm going to get nothing. So, but to understand, to put this in perspective, like people like to shit on Overwatch and people who like Overwatch, and they forget when Overwatch was super popular. And to be fair, it's been years, so I don't blame them. But Anuj, let me put this in perspective for you. It has been 109 days without any balance updates for Overwatch. 767 days without a new hero. 986 days without a hero rework. 1,103 days over 3 years without a new map.
Hey, so Counter-Strike and Valorant have Overwatch has something in common.
And
no, at least
course,
we got Ancient.
906 days since Overwatch 2 was even announced. So,
and we were there 906 days ago when they announced Overwatch 2. And that is mind-blowing to me, because it's not like this game has been sitting and like, oh, let's just sit in our success and milk this for everything it's worth. It's also been 906 days since Overwatch was a good game.
Right.
So it is crazy to me. Like, think about these numbers. We're talking 3 years, 2.5 years, 2 years. I mean, 109 days without a balance change seems like a weekend for some people, probably.
There's a reason the game has died off, people. Okay? And there's a reason, and you're in full right to be like, man, Overwatch has kind of started to suck. Well, yeah. Ever since they announced Overwatch 2, that game has been dead to Blizzard. So, it's time. People are excited. People are rejuvenated. I'm excited. I got bit by the Overwatch bug. Overwatch League starts in like 10 days. They're going to be playing Overwatch 2. I'm excited. And I don't care who knows it. I'm excited to play Overwatch. In other FPS news, Packers backup quarterback, Ben Kirk, I don't know, he plays for a stupid, dumb football team, so who cares, joins Space Station Gaming as an alt for their Halo roster. So that'll probably be just about as useful as his football career in Green Bay. Halo will also be getting some new game modes in the upcoming season. 2 new maps, 3 new game modes. Last Man Standing, King of the Hill, and one other that I cannot remember. But look, King of the Hill, it's exciting. All this is exciting. But why was King of the Hill not in the game at launch? I don't want to get started on it again. It's been in every other Halo since Halo 1. Why are we acting like it's a big deal that you're adding it now? Like, stop it. And also, though, Halo Esports, not to get mad at them because they're doing everything right. The major is this weekend for Kansas.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yep. The Kansas major for Halo is this weekend. So,
oh, yeah. Do you see the Twitch drops for that? I almost made that its own Yikes of the week.
Yeah. They're pretty... They'll give you a paint job to make your gun look grayer. It looks really dumb.
Stupid.
It looks really dumb, but I'll watch it. In FGC news, Zane defeats HBox in Pound 2022 for the Melee Finals. This is Zane's hell of a year so far for him. It's his second one. Obviously, just like 2 weeks ago, he won Genesis 8. So crazy 2 weeks for him. Mango failed to get out of the top 16. He has been struggling lately. And he's talked about it on stream. He's always very open about it. But after this event, he tweeted out that he's going to be taking some time away from the game. So not retiring. He did specify that. He's just kind of lost that motivation at the moment. And look, we've all been there, right? Even from just a normal day-to-day life aspect, right? You take off a day of work just because you need to recharge. I can only imagine as a Melee player, especially for someone like Mango, where your stream is successful, right? I mean, he's got thousands of people watching him and everything like that. He's got a couple thousand subs. His stream's very successful. And then you go to these events where even if you win first, you're taking home like $700 still.
Less than you're making in a night of streaming.
Right. Like, I could see why that motivation dies off a little bit. And he's older. He's married with a kid. Like, I could see why going to these events and hanging out with young folk, you're kind of like, kind of want to just stay home and stream and make a couple $1,000 instead. Like
see if I have the energy to come back and do this again.
Yeah, so I'm sure he'll
come
come
back. You can't
back.
blame him. It's not like he's in his like prime or even in his first few years. He's been doing this forever.
And that's the thing. It's like, I think he could if he wanted to be, right? Because a lot of the best players in Melee have dropped off. So like if he wanted to take that crown, he could. But I just don't think he wants to.
You got to be incredibly motivated to just be a Melee player in general. So like I feel like you lose a little bit of that motivation. It's not like you have developer support. It's not like you have publisher support. Right. Like you gotta just have it and
motivated and a little bit of crazy. So that will be he said Summit will be one of his last events for a while. So everyone watch that for Mango's sake. And in other news, random fun fact for you that I saw tweeted out: the total played hours or in years for World of Warcraft, Anuj. They tweeted this out: 9 million years total play time for WoW.
One day I want to get on and hit /played on all of my characters.
So there's an add-on. If you download Altaholic, it will tell you. I'm afraid to look. I don't want to know how much time I've wasted.
I'm gonna guess I have over a year played across all my characters.
Like when we're on our deathbeds and we're thinking about all the time that we could have done learning the piano or saving some beached dolphin from dying.
I grinded on my druid.
I'm gonna think of how I spent 2 years of my life just mundane. That dolphin might have died, but did you see this mount I got from this dungeon I ran 1,000 times? Transmog? That dolphin's dead, but this transmog lives forever, so... and in other news, Diablo Immortal was announced that it's coming out on PC now. So somehow it's come full circle where Diablo Immortal, a mobile game that was a copy reskin of another Chinese game, which was also a copy and reskin of the original Diablo, is now being ported all the way back around to PC.
So they eventually released it on PC. They took one of the biggest PR hits of all time when they initially announced this, because this was the infamous "Don't you all have phones" statement. And here we are coming full circle back on PC. Makes me wonder if Diablo 4 is ever actually going to come out, where we're at in development with that. Like, what are we going to do with Diablo Immortal and Diablo 4? Doesn't seem to make much sense unless Diablo 4 is still a ways away from being ready. So all this does is like raise his eyebrows, and I'm like, okay, and you're going to have now a mobile experience on PC, so it's just another way for us to like dump money into it's going to be a heavily microtransaction game because it is a mobile game first. So it's just another way to take your money, guys. That's what that is.
Doesn't make any sense to me. Unless I can like play on the PC and then pick up where I left off on my phone.
Which you might, I'm sure you'll be able to do stuff like that. It's just I don't understand the point of it when you're supposed to have Diablo 4 around the corner.
Like the whole point of Immortals was, hey, it's a phone option. But now it's not a phone option. It's on the It doesn't make any sense. It's not enough for me to care. But at the same time, it also just doesn't make any sense. So, anywho, there you have it. Episode 381. It's done. It's in the books. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Love you. Whether you skipped around, joined late, everyone in chat, love your face. Thank you for being here for the show. We'll see everyone in Discord. Follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. The description there has the link for the Discord and all that fun stuff. Come play Destiny with us. Overwatch, if you get into the Overwatch 2 beta, be sure to hit us up. I will definitely be, fingers crossed, if I get in, I will be playing that for sure.
I'll at least be in for sure. We know that.
Yeah, so you'll be in, no doubt.
You can do that.
No doubt.
Destiny is also free to play for those of you that don't know. There's a free to play, like the Crucible, which is the PvP option, is free to play. Some other little stuff. Obviously, you can't do the new expansion content, but if you want to just join us in some PvP, that's an option for you.
Yeah. Yep. So, no excuses. But other than that, we'll be back next week talking RMR, or I guess not RMR anymore. It's just straight up the major, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll talk more CSGO major, do the preview as we get into that. And maybe in like 2 weeks, the DreamHack Survival Guide. We'll just have to see what's going on. But anyways, for Anuj, I'm Tim. That's for then. See you later. Love you. Bye. Boom. All right. Everyone in chat. My mouse died for a second. I had to plug it in.
My headphones keep dying, so I had to keep plugging it in.
Everyone in chat, love you. I'm going to kill this off and edit it. I will post it. Going to kill the stream, though. See you.
God bless. Godspeed.
See you all later.